Founded in 2007, the Presbyterian University of East Africa, shortly known as PUEA, it's marking its 13th graduation tomorrow, and of course it will be live on Kirk TV. How has the journey been? And that is what we want to talk about today, PUEA in higher education. My name is Vincent Kerosin, welcoming to this special program of Kirk mid-morning, this Thursday of the 8th of December 2022. In studio I'm joined with Professor Timothy Henry Gatara. He is the Vice Chancellor of the Presbyterian University of East Africa, in studio to help us understand what it's all about. PCA, of course, the university under the umbrella of the PCA, and all about higher education in the country. Karibu sana, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome, especially in studio, the VC of the Presbyterian University of East Africa, Professor Timothy Henry Gatara. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation.
Yes. Karibu sana. And let's just go straight into it. 13th graduation happening tomorrow. It's been quite a journey. Can you tell us how it's been basically for you?
Well, of course, the Presbyterian University has a history that dates back way to 1988, when through the resolution known as 2093 of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, they decided to establish a university. Of course, then the idea of the university existed in the minds of church luminaries, and in 1998, they then established the college, the Presbyterian College, which actually became the precursor of the Presbyterian University of Eastern Africa. And since then, the main milestones, first of all, were to seek for what was then known as the Letter of Interim Authority from the then Commission for Higher Education, which we struggled with until we attained it in 2007. So with the Letter of Interim Authority, of course, we started with only a few programs, one in business, one in computer science, and of course theology. And those became the foundations of all our programs that we have today. Of course, from there, with the Letter of Interim Authority, you work hard also to be fully chartered. And it was also a long journey towards charter.
It was, yeah.
We were chartered in 2020, very recently. And this was one of the most important and critical milestones, and something for our church and the sponsor to be very proud of. And we are also very proud of that moment when we became fully chartered and started growing in terms of numbers and programs.
Actually, talking about the charter, it happened during the heat of COVID-19. Do you feel that you celebrated the charter as it would have been, away from COVID?
Of course, first of all, we are very, very grateful as an institution, because despite that period of COVID, we almost had no incident of COVID either among the student or staff, be one or two. And we did not feel that we were inhibited in any way in celebrating that, because we felt we needed to be grateful to God and also grateful to our church. And we lingered a bit, we delayed it a bit to celebrate. We celebrated after, well after that period of COVID. So we were not so terribly inhibited in terms of celebrating. And we did host actually a ceremony and produced a number of what we call memorabilia. One of the memorabilia, for example, is the badge I'm wearing. It was for celebrating that moment. And it is worn all around by our members and also our supporters and friends.
Only that I don't have one myself.
I'm sure I will make one available.
That would be great.
Yes.
Let's talk about COVID. It came, it affected every sector, education sector, not left behind. How have you, tried to recover from that? If I may use that time, recovering and taking those strides out of COVID, and now the bold steps forward. Being now, actually, is this the first or second graduation ceremony that you are going to hold now in person after after COVID-19?
This is actually the second graduation, and of course, COVID brought shifts, not just for our institution, but for the world and indeed the country.
Yeah.
But specifically in the education sector, the main shift really, as you know, there was prolonged closure of all institutions in order to prevent infections. And during that time, it became apparent all over the institutions and all over the world. That's one mode of learning in what you call brick and mortar university was challenged. So one of the major shifts was really to start doing online learning, and this is something we had just done very, very quickly. Of course, we were able to return slowly to in-person learning, and we feel that despite that challenge, I don't think the education sector has a choice in the future other than to grow that sector of online learning very, very strongly. And it does. Some of the universities that are quite ahead, particularly in Africa. I know the universities in Southern Africa, like the University of Wits and Cape Town, are very advanced, and they almost, first of all, they were able to give all their students a laptop during the COVID period. Of course, we couldn't do that. And they were able also to entrench online learning for a very prolonged period of time. And we are still going back slowly to the whole mode. Otherwise, we are fully now. You're fully in-person learning.
But is it a lesson that you're taking, as you've said, the institutions of higher learning have no option than to grow the online learning mechanism? Is it a lesson that you've learned, and how you're growing now that sector of online learning? Because it's also going to grow your numbers, because you don't have to have all your numbers in person, but you can have that distance learning, as it called, in a better way.
Absolutely. Of course, one of the challenges institutions like ours faces in this respect is that you need, first of all, to build capacity among the staff, because they were not used to online learning, and some of them were not very competent in using softwares and computers, particularly in that area of learning. So the first area we have embarked on is to build institutional capacity for our staff to be able to operate and learn about these softwares. And of course, with capacity building, it's a matter of mobilizing the resources, particularly even in terms of the equipment that is needed and the softwares that are needed, and continue that capacity building. And at the same time, encouraging our students also, first of all, to own a laptop, learn the skills that are needed to operate online, and also hold a number of workshops to train and sensitize our students that indeed times have changed. They may not be seeing a great deal of lecturers in-person learning in the future. They will be probably more interacting on the screen rather than in the classrooms. But at the same time, we are running both in parallel form.
And of course, your motto is finding new paths.
That's right.
I believe that
it is
a new path.
It's really a new path. And by the way, we started as far back as 2010, around there. We had already tried to establish our online learning school. Of course, at that time it was not popular, and it was viewed as if it's a mistake, that if you are not doing in-person learning, you are making a mistake. But now we know we had the right footing. We started right. So we picked from where we stopped, and we are doing well in re-establishing and striking that path.
Of course, you are an institution in higher learning, and you are up against top institutions in the country, not only in the country, in the region, of course. How are you remaining competitive and relevant in this competitive, field of education, that people are, bringing new ideas each and every day?
First of all, the world is really a changed place. I can mention one or two things that have happened. First of all, both students, learners, professors, and even parents have realized that an academic education or academic degree is not enough. You can get an academic qualification, and that doesn't mean you will you earn your way in the world. And this is one of our strengths. We are training people with knowledge and education that they can use in the world, and that can stand the test of time. Secondly, we are church anchored. I cannot say that the world has become an immoral place or a world without values, but our church is about values. Our philosophy and values are entrenched in these students because we believe that we should produce men and women, young men and women of character. And this is also one of our strengths. And I think a lot of parents, maybe having had experience in other institutions, decide that perhaps there is something for their students to gain beyond a degree. And indeed, when our graduates leave, they are different, because that is one of the major differences. And secondly, our church and its philosophy is not new in this area. As you know, the pillars of our church, of education, of health, of community service, and ecumenism, they have been there for a long time. And we are pioneers in education. And being pioneers in education, those who bring their children there expect their child to be different when they leave that place. And there is a history of the people who are produced by even other institutions. For example, that's our church related, like Alliance High School. They expected our institutions also to be the same. We are also trying to go wider and strengthen our programs, particularly in nursing. We have a strong niche in nursing. Our largest in education, our largest department is actually education, followed by nursing, because we also produce a nurse with character, not just a nurse who goes to work and earn a salary. The professionals who care for the patients beyond just earning a salary. And of course, growing our theology program, and at the same time computer science. Because with computer science and also innovation, we are establishing our graduate school, and we have already started. We want a strong graduate school where we can anchor our innovation, research and innovation. Secondly, if you talk about the grades, it's really about our vision. We want to revision ourselves so that we become a lead, God-centered, innovative and professional university, and aim at being a medium-sized university. It's not about size. We don't need 100,000 students. If we can grow to 10,000, 20,000, and become a quality center of learning, on a center of excellence, that will be quite satisfactory, and that is our vision. For now, our dream is not to compare ourselves with any of the universities here. In fact, in our vision, we do not compare ourselves with any. We just want to take PUEA to the frontiers, to become to the frontiers, to line up with the best in the world. Even if we start with the best in Africa, like the big four in Southern Africa, the University of East, we have University of Pretoria, Rhodes, and Cape Town. These are the lead medium-sized university, but they have quality. What we need actually is to build quality, and that is what our vision is about. So we are managing to compete because the students come and feel that there is something different, and given the size, we are able to give almost personal attention.
Talking about size, what is your size in terms of student population?
Right now, from 2007, of course, we will start with almost nothing, maybe with 10 students, and grow towards 2015 there to another 1,000. Then we have come all the way now to about just over 4,000 students. 4,000 strong.
That's a good number, but you've said that allows you to do almost personal kind of, interactive education.
Yes.
And that makes you stand out.
I can give you an example with that. For example, we are encouraging our students to join clubs where we not only pursue character building in our Christian education way. We are also encouraging them to take new sports. For example, some of the new sports we have planned and we are introducing. For example, mountain biking. We are already starting the archery club, using some of the best Kenyan Olympiads, and things like bowling. Even for staff, there is no university that has a sport for staff, and this is one of the way we are going. We are also encouraging, for example, our young men to learn life skills, like they should know how to be young chefs and good cooks, given even led by their vice chancellor, who has some knowledge in this area, and encouraging young people to understand that maybe in the future, the ordinary way where you have a wife who stays home and cooks for you, and sometimes also you may be called upon to lead that, and also in the world. if you are going to live in the world, those are the kind of skills we need.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are a good cook for that matter.
I am.
As you say.
I am. Excellent.
Okay. I'm looking at your core values here, and they are about accountability, creativity and innovativeness, decency, integrity and transparency, professionalism, stewardship and teamwork. And you're a faith-based institution, as we said earlier. Does this give you an extra pressure or motivation, so that because the product that you release into the world have to stand out from the rest because you are faith-based? Is it more motivation or more pressure?
It's both. It's more pressure because we do not shut off our university to students who may not be subscribing or belonging to our faith. And also those students also come from the world. So we try to shape them according to our values. For example, I can give you an example. As a university, every Tuesday we have chapel.
Okay.
And that is led not just by our chaplain, but our guest speakers, and also the Vice Chancellor. This is a very important, for example, way of reminding our students every week about our values and what we are about. And more importantly, reminding them why those values are important to them. Because we are preparing for the world. And we are preparing for a world that has changed a great deal and has challenges, and will challenge their character and even their morals. So in a sense, it's a pressure for us because we have to mobilize ourselves and mobilize our staff to be able to do this almost constantly. And at the same time, we find really emboldened because we see our students taking this very seriously, even very simple values like you want a clean and friendly environment, keep it that way. And they do that. So it is both a challenge and also really an encouragement for us. And we have risen up to the task of doing that. And this actually is the difference, one of the major differences between us and maybe a few other institutions.
Yeah. We are at a time where, universities or institutions of higher learning, especially the public ones, are struggling financially, probably because of COVID-19. But again, there has been issues. Is it an issue that as an institution also, is it a challenge that you're facing financially? And how are you trying to, find your way out of this and make sure that you stand, boldly and strongly on what you believe in terms of giving education and accessible to all?
Of course, we pride ourselves and maybe take some comfort the fact that we are a sponsored church. It has a sponsor, and the sponsor has stood very strongly in terms of resources and other support for the institution. Of course, this is a challenge for any institution. And second to our sponsor, of course, they are also our partners, both local and overseas, who have supported the university over time. But other than that, we have, of course, faced the challenge of increasing our numbers, because this is one of the ways we can also increase, for example, our resources. And at the same time, put in place ways of mobilizing resources, like establishment of an enterprise company for the institution. Otherwise, it is a challenge for any institution. We cannot say we are terribly inconvenienced. We are managing the situation. But in the future, we need to put greater efforts, first of all, to develop innovative programs that can attract more students, and also go global, regional, at least, if not global. Last week, I did an article on the East African. That is East African paper that is going to be read in the DRC. Because we've been getting some students from around the region. And we are trying to establish that kind of market where we draw not just from Kenya, but from the region. Yes.
Actually, talking about the ESC, the expansion of ESC now, we have DRC as the new kid in the block.
Yes.
You know, education-wise, how do you feel that is going to, you know, help the region and make it a hub for education, even for you as an institution? That is, I know you're you're in Tanzania, and you also want to go even
Uganda.
into those regions. Yeah.
Yes.
How is this, you know, expansion of ESC going to help you people?
It's really a matter, since the church itself positioned itself a long time ago in the East African region, and the university is called the East Africa. It's an East Africa university, and when people read about it out there, they think it's a place that they can come. So it's really about overcoming the challenges that are there. For example, if you're going to the DRC, you know they are a francophone country. So sometimes that inhibits our interaction. And that's a barrier we want to break, first of all, by establishing an international office and also encouraging both sides to be bilingual. Although I know the region is becoming more and more Anglophone, it will speed up the process of integrating with East Africa. If also we appreciate the students who are applying from as far as Ghana and places like Cote d'Ivoire, Gambia, and South Sudan. It's a matter of us really preparing to show them that they can come here and first of all get a reception and also learn in this institution where the language is not a barrier. Yes.
How then do you conduct your intakes? You know, the students that you register, you bring in. How do you conduct them? And give us even the, you know, the how do you call it, the procedure and the number of times that you do it in a year or something.
Of course, it's on a semester basis. We advertise every semester, and also we try to hold a mini semester during July to September. Of course, that is the time when the students are on holiday. But the main way is really advertising ourselves early enough, both in the local press and also in the regional press, and also giving the criteria for admission. And also where we are able to offer, for example, we have a work-study program where students can benefit through assistance when they are learning there with their fees and other activities. So right from the beginning of every semester, we are looking not only at that semester, but also the following semester. And we go full-fledged in the local press. At the same time, we talk to fora. Not only, in fact, one of the fora was an East African fora. We talk to fora across the region about our institution and why we are different. And we interpret our motto and our philosophy for them. And we emphasize why it would be different. The student or the child who comes there lives differently from attending other institutions.
You know, one thing that makes an institution a top one, especially in universities, is about research. How are you positioning yourself in this?
As I mentioned earlier, one of the things we have done, which we haven't had, is really to establish a graduate school. And in establishing that graduate school, we have sought to establish a chair from one of the founders of the institution who has made a grant or prepared to make a grant to the university. That is late Very Reverend Dr. John Gatto. Their foundation has planned to endow the university with a chair. It can be a local person or an overseas person. And the purpose of that chair is to establish the graduate school at a very high level. At the same time, we plan to teach research methodology. That will be the hub of the research methodology. This is, by the way, a weak area. It tends to be a weak area across the board. Sometimes research methodology is not taught as a subject at the highest level. People also don't have analytic skills. Like at the graduate school, that's where the center of statistics will be, and also the center of thinking. So we'll be teaching a lot of theory and concepts across the departments. Everybody who wants to write a thesis, be it at master's or PhD level, will have to get those three, whatever department you come from. And then, of course, the fourth angle is computer and analytic skills. Those four. So we positioned ourselves to use the graduate school as the hub and to become a strong research and innovation center. The university also puts aside funds on an annual basis that can be competitively accessed by our staff. We also, as you may have seen, we have held a number of seminars where we have collaborated with, for example, with the Catholic University of East Africa to present some of the papers that staff have developed through research. And of course, we would like to have as many people enter citations, their work cited, because it improves our ranking. For example, there is an academic body called Academia. It's a global body. And whenever your name is cited somewhere, they tell you, we would like to have as many people cited in academia, for example, as many people as possible. Of course, for me, I am cited. I do not know how many times is good enough, but I have more than 11,000 citations.
That's great.
In academia.
That's great.
Yes, as in professional journals and papers. And the idea is to encourage through our graduate school to have that kind of people that can improve the ranking of our institution. Yes.
I know we are due for a short break, when then come back and continue the conversation. But before we go to the break, I just want to a little bit talk about the education reforms in the country. We've seen, the previous government, and now we have a new regime, and they have come up with how they want things done, especially in matters basic education, which I believe builds up to higher education as well, to higher learning, and that affects you in one or the other. I believe that when we come back, we'll be able to, you also have a voice in this and tell us what you think about it. And then we talk about graduation as well tomorrow, the ceremony tomorrow, a little bit one or two about the issues, and then we'll continue that. Thank you for continuing, of course, being with us in this conversation this morning, talking about the Presbyterian University of East Africa in matters higher learning, because tomorrow they are marking their 13th graduation ceremony tomorrow, which will be live on Kirk TV. But today we have an honor to host the Vice Chancellor, that is Professor Timothy Henry Gatara, in studio to help us understand one or two things about higher learning, about the institution itself, and of course about the ceremony tomorrow. So don't go away. We are due for a short break, but we'll be back shortly to continue the conversation. Don't go away.
The Presbyterian University of East Africa, PUEA, is a faith-based chartered university and is devoted to excellence in teaching, learning, research, and producing leaders in different disciplines through the development of innovative, competitive, and market-driven academic programs. Our Christian background, ample amenities, and quiet and serene environment provides our learners with great learning conditions. The university welcomes you to our 13th graduation ceremony to be held on Friday, 9th December from 9 a.m. at our Kikuyu campus, Fogoto.
PCEA Mbagathi Parish presents a Thanksgiving service at PCEA Ongata Church on the 11th of December 2022. The host minister will be Reverend David Gikonyo Nganga. The guest minister will be the Right Reverend Thegum Tahi, the moderator of the 23rd General Assembly. The service will be live on Kirk TV as from 9:30 a.m.
PCEA Enomatesiani Booth Boys High School is an ideal school for boys located in a quiet and serene environment, ideal for learning in Matasia, Kajiado County. The school works towards producing qualified students who become competent professionals in the society.
We offer a wide variety of subjects in our school. Our school is well equipped. We have a state-of-the-art library. a spacious boarding section, a modern kitchen, also Olympic-size swimming pool where our students go and have their swimming lessons.
The school focuses its effort not only in classroom learning, but we also provide learners with equal opportunities, that is to hone their abilities and talents. We have games like football, chess, volleyball, among others. The climate here is also favorable for all students.
PCEA Enomatasiani Booth Boys High School is open for January 2023 intake in junior secondary forms 1, 2 and 3.
Our school is founded on Christian value. We appeal for you to register our school next year, which we are offering our junior secondary school, and we know we'll be able to mentor your boys through our Christian setup.
We are going to mold our boys in Christian values, and we are committed to do so at this time when the boy child must be taken care of.
For more information, get in touch via 0796 560000, 0796 560000. Email us pceaenoboothboys@gmail.com.
The Presbyterian University of East Africa, PUEA, is a faith-based chartered university and is devoted to excellence in teaching, learning, research, and producing leaders in different disciplines through the development of innovative, competitive, and market-driven academic programs. Our Christian background, ample amenities, and quiet and serene environment provides our learners with great learning conditions. The university welcomes you to our 13th graduation ceremony to be held on Friday, 9th December from 9 a.m. at our Kikuyu campus, Fogoto.
For the current graduates, my message is for them to go into the world that has many challenges and that has changed a great deal, and adopt those situations in life that is beneficial to them, and also adapt to those situations by learning new skills and looking for new paths, and probably continuing to execute that motto of ours that says, look for new paths.
You can follow the live proceedings on Kirk TV from 9 a.m. Presbyterian University of East Africa, finding new paths.
Right, welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned. This is Kirk Mid-Morning. My name is Vincent Kirosi. Today, having it all about education. And in studio, of course, I am with Professor Timothy Henry Getara, the Vice Chancellor of the Presbyterian University of East Africa. It's known as PUEA to many of us. And in studio, before we went to a break, we were talking about, the education reforms in the country. And one of the reforms is that now, all primary schools should be day schools, no boarding schools in primary school. How does this, for you as an academia, how do you look at it? How does it, build a student for, a higher learning?
Of course, first of all, reforms are good in education, and they have been there for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
I remember in the 70s, after gaining independence, there were commissions, for example, one called the Ominda Commission that was reforming the university education. And after that, I know you are aware about the oncoming of the 844 system.
Yes.
And that changed again, and now it's about to change again.
Yeah,
I
to
have
CBC.
nothing, yes, CBC. I have no quarrel with reforms in education. And of course, where we are now, it needs to settle down. Which way we shall go. Yeah. Is it the primary schools that will be handling the last 2 years, or is it the university, the secondary schools that will be handling? And there seems to be a bit of mix-up there, because at first it sounded like the CBC, those last few years in the first section, will be handled by primary schools, and then by secondary schools, and then a decision seems to have made also to do it the other way around. For us as an institution, of course, we prepare to train and to fit into the new curricula once it is in place. But other than that, I think when we talk about education, the CBC is about really producing the kind of person we were talking about earlier, who can fit in the world and survive, notwithstanding the fact that we are trying to train these kids maybe too early in their life. In the old days when, for example, I know you used to hear about things like Kenya African primary education examination at standard 8.
Yes, yes.
People, when you are trying to train people, for example, to be carpenters, to be chefs and cooks, you could see they could manage that. But I think this is one of the challenges we are facing. Are we putting too much for our children too early, even as we are very eager to give them skills with which they can survive? But the general idea of giving our children skills with which they can live in the world, it's a very good one. And we should make every effort to make sure at all levels, primary, secondary, and university, that kind of thing happens. Because we are producing, we are not just schooling students, we are educating them. So that's the education that we give them, help them fit into the world and stand the test of time. I think the effort being made at primary, secondary, and university level are all good, but I think they should be tailored to suit what a child can cope with, because a child is a child. And children are about play and having fun. If at early stages they can just have literacy and learn to read and write, and learn one or two skills here and there, that would be sufficient. At secondary school, now you take those and you add something else, and so on and so forth, and not to try to give too much to them when they have not reached a stage where they can cope with that.
So your take, if I understand you, is that maybe doing that in the early ages, that is maybe in grades 1 to 9, could be too early for them. Maybe it could be done.
This is just my thinking.
Your thinking, In high school, probably add another 2 years, like it was from 5 and 6 then.
You see, one of the things right now is that the parents used to understand the structure of education or schooling in the country because it was so simple. In the colonial times, from what I learned, children, you enroll in standard 1, and at standard 4, you sit for an examination called common entrance. Parents knew that. After 4 years, you sit for that examination. Those who make it continue for 8 years, and they sit for a African primary education. Parents knew that, and they were relaxed about it because they knew when it was coming. After standard 3, those who are continuing, you go to high school, and the Form 4, they understood. The few who are to head for university, they also understood. You go for 2 years pre-university, which was called A-level. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that it's a simple system that does not confuse them.
Do you feel the one we have is too complicated?
It's too complicated and going back and forth. And those days, you did not even need to tell the parents whether it was 223 or 344 or 844. They knew what the system is, and they understood the consequences of it. So all I'm urging is a simple system that is understood by parents, and also progressively takes our children towards a university education. And then the other thing is this. You see, there is talent in almost everything. If you take, for example, take somebody like Eliud Kipchoge.
Okay.
Yeah? Eliud Kipchoge does not go into the world and do complicated mathematics and physics. Eliud Kipchoge runs the marathon.
Yeah.
And is best at it because he has talent.
Yeah.
Now, if you take somebody like you and me, and for example, go to court and argue that you and I are not represented in the marathon and we need to go and run the marathon because of human rights. We may be included in the marathon, but we will not bring the gold medal.
Yeah.
It is Kipchoge who has the talent.
Because we don't have the talent.
And the same thing is, I think, is something we need to think about as a country. Is there such a thing as talent in education? Sometimes people feel that if you don't go to university, maybe you don't have the talent, or people will think funny of you. So you must go there by all means. But maybe this is not the way to go. We need to let those people with talent develop their talent early enough. For example, if you have academies that concentrate maybe after secondary on talent identification and talent training, this student can be channeled into what they can do in life early enough, instead of all aiming and heading for university. And I'm not saying that you should not go to university if you feel you should go to university. But the country needs the scientists, the social scientists, the philosophers, the historians, the managers, the business people at the highest level possible. So that for those who go to university, we know exactly what they will do when they leave the institution. They don't come out looking for jobs or opportunities. It is what we require. So all I'm urging is that we do a bit of thinking of talent, what talent we develop or we want to develop in the university, in order to target our development inspirations. And we try to answer the question, why don't we manufacture cars and complicated gadgets? Why don't we manufacture microchips? This is what we should be thinking about when we talk about university education. And I think the current situation could be resolved where government is funding university with difficulty if we just take to university what the country needs in order to progress and spend whatever money that is required. Sometimes the argument comes, if you do that, you'll be discriminating against the poor. Not at all. If the poor person has the talent to be at the university, they don't even have to think about fees. We pay for that person. Why? We need that person, whatever background you come from. I think in my view, and at the conceptual and philosophical level, that is something we need to think about very seriously. And otherwise, you will never break out of this vicious cycle where we don't produce our own scientists and thinkers, we don't produce the goods that we need, and we do not develop a Kenyan technology like other countries have done. We have to depend on technologies from outside. That is one challenge I feel at the university education, and it starts with the kind of education system that we put in place. And that is what I was saying. It's a very nice thing to reform education and also to try and keep these young people with the correct skills at the correct time, all the way to the university level. But again, this is just a personal thought.
It's a personal thought, but for me, I call it universally accepted because it is what it is out here, because I agree with you. And the reason why we have a flooded job market with people with degrees and, even first and second degrees, but they don't have a good job, is because maybe they were book smart, but in terms of skill and talent, it wasn't developed, or it wasn't there at all, or they choose a field that basically did not suit them from the word go. And this is something that needs to be changed.
And there is such a thing as much as people may argue, there is such a thing as talent, even at a personal level, if you think about it. Maybe if you think about your school days, maybe you didn't like algebra and you couldn't do it. But there are also your colleagues who could crack or geometry or whatever. By the way, I trained for mathematics under one of the greatest teachers, Edward Curry Francis. And it was clear that there were people who could do mathematics and others could not do. But when you give them the art, they could do. We need to recognize that there's no shame if you cannot do those things. There are those who can do it. Let them go ahead and do it and think for our country. And in every person, there is a God-given talent and purpose. And that is what leads to your work, not employment. There's a big difference. Your work is what you are made by God and given the talent to do. Employment is somebody you have to come and sit here and do, and you are paid a salary. We need to identify that niche and encourage both students, parents, and even our country people that there is no shame. You don't have to have a degree for people to say you are okay. Maybe it's not the way you are made. There are those who are made that way.
Yes.
As much as I wanted, for example, one of the greatest thinkers in history in the area of physics was Albert Einstein, who gave the formula that led to the invention of atomic bomb. I could have gone to university and spent all my lifetime, and I could never have invented an atomic bomb. I wasn't just gifted in that. He was. And I think this is something we need to recognize and try to educate all of us that there is no shame in not having a university degree. One of these days when you feel you should have it, you should go and get it. But first and foremost, what is your talent and what is your purpose and what are you cut out for? Because that is what the country needs.
And do you think that even the formulation of the university programs that we offer in our institutions need to be, formulated at from an angle of looking at the skill set of a person, so that if you have, say you have a sports science or sports something, program in university, a person who is good in athletics, who is good in, in games and all that, can come specifically for that.
Yes.
Do you think we need to reform even the programs we have in universities?
We need to do that, and in my view, we need also greater autonomy for universities to be able to develop their programs as quickly as possible. Without being inconvenienced in any way through bureaucracy. Here again, I talk in terms of general terms, so that they can explore what is needed by the country. A country like Japan, for example, at the university level, first of all, they figure out, if you take, for example, the area of tourism, what do they need to achieve in tourism, and what kind of people do we need? And they train for that, and they allow those who can go all the way to university to just deliver that. In terms of diplomacy, what linguistic groups do we need to care about, and what do we need to learn in terms of languages? And they train for that, and universities are challenged to do these things. Because if you do not target our areas like that and our programs, then everybody is free to come and do whatever is offered there, whether it is of use or not. And mind you, I'm not saying that, you see, the country today, and maybe Africa and in the world, we are not having the problems we are having because we lack engineers or architects or doctors. We lack social scientists. And philosophers and historians and economists enough to help us tackle the problems that we are facing. All these others can fit in. And I think this is another recognition that we need to make. The countries in the West, for example, United States, puts a lot of emphasis in the training of social scientists and direct them to resolve the problems that we face.
Yeah, because right about now it's about bringing solutions to the problems in the world right now. It's not about going the conventional way from the word go, because I think even Kenya, we gave too much emphasis, and which was good then, the post-colonial period. We needed engineers, we needed doctors, we needed all this, because that is where we were then. But right about now, what do we need to bring solutions to what we're going through right now? I think that is where we need to go. And as an institution, now we come in again. I think this is a good place to come in as an institution. When you admit these students when they come, what kind of, how do you look at them? You have an opportunity to talk to them, and how do you gauge their understanding of what they are going to face in the world vis-a-vis what they are coming to do in school, in university?
Well, first of all, they have no difficulty because they find staff like myself, even not as a vice chancellor, just as a professor, who have been out there. And when you are looking, and secondly, when those students come to us, don't forget, they are like our children. When you look at them, you're wondering. This is students wants to do history, or what is her thinking or his thinking. And last time they are just thinking about just learning and earning a degree. But slowly you ingrain in them that it is not just schooling. There is purpose in what they have come to do. And whatever they are pursuing, we encourage them to pursue a certain line. So this is one thing we do almost constantly, and it's across all the staff, that we have to encourage and talk as much as possible to our students about what the world out there looks like and what is on offer, and encourage them to think that way. And even if they felt that something is not offered and needs to be offered, we entrench and we ingrain that whatever they're asking about into their program. But the key thing is really sensitizing them about what, first of all, the world looks like and what it is likely to look like in the future. And training them in our philosophy that let's try and find a new way all the time and walk in it.
Do you feel that the society is being more, reactive than being proactive, especially in building, capacity to what we are going through? Are we being reactive?
You cannot blame the world. I think it's mostly reactive. Most of the time, people don't sit together to first of all look at what is the world that we are living in, what does it look like at the moment, and then think about it, look at the same world in the future. And I can give you an example with us. For example, one of the areas we've completely forgotten is demography, the area of population. But the truth is that every year we add a cohort of new people to our population. The plans we make today are not enough because we've added a number. Every 10 years, probably we double our population. This is one area, for example, we need to be thinking about, even as we plan today. If you talk about a hustler fund that has, for example, 4 million, what will happen when there are 8 million? Or when tomorrow there are 6 million? I think that is where we should try not to be reactive, but to analyze our situation more critically and try to put that situation, project that situation into the future and answer the questions of the future. In other words, as much as we are worrying about what the situation looks like, we should also worry about what will it look like in the future and how shall we tackle it when we get there. It's like imagine we live a bit of our life, maybe 50% or more in the future today. We should live in the future, that future, today, and start developing it. Otherwise, our problem compounds itself. If a slum was small today because they had 1 million, you are looking at even a worse situation in a few years to come. There will be 2 or 3 million in that same slum. So that is why I'm saying we lay more emphasis on this cadre of people who think about social problems and how to solve them. Sometimes these are called the social forces. We need to worry about the social forces currently and the social forces of the future in developing and training our graduates. And we sensitize them, that is what they are going to face. So are you prepared to position yourself so that you can live and earn a living? Because of what you're able to contribute in looking for a solution for that situation.
I like that. And as an institution, you've told me there are new programs that you're introducing. I mean, how are they connecting to this whole conversation that we are having now?
The first one was a master's program that we have developed. It is called the Masters in Peace, Security, and Pandemics Management. And maybe as an individual, you saw how closely those factors are related. The security and the pandemic management. In fact, it's our security forces who are actually at the forefront managing that situation. I happen to have had an experience with an international peace team at the International Peace Support Training Unit at Karen, and saw how they work and how they are struggling to train people in that area. Who, when, for example, a pandemic breaks out, it is not a problem of doctors. I think this is one of the realizations. It's a problem It's a social problem. It's a security problem. So we've developed that program in order to first of all train managers in that area who, the outbreak of, for example, a pandemic like the one we have gone through, they would be available to at least lead an organized society to respond, because we realize that we lack that cadre of people, and it's very important. And it comes from social science, from economists, from health people, and even historians, if you like, and a political scientist. So that is one of the areas that we have developed, and it's in the process of approval. And the second one is in criminology. I think you know our crime situation, but the idea is to study criminology at higher level. And produce criminologists who can analyze the situation and advise government accordingly in dealing with the problem of crime in a society, yes. So those two at least.
All right. Even as we want to talk about what is coming up tomorrow, how accessible, how affordable are your programs? Because there must be someone watching here, particularly those who are now looking at transiting into higher learning next year or so, and they're thinking, I want to join PUEA University, PUEA, but I don't know how, and I don't know how accessible, affordable they are for me.
Of course, we have our website, and everything is detailed there, right from our vision to philosophy, and also our mission and values. And secondly, we are all accessible. We have given all our telephone lines and how we can be contacted. And we also reach out, for example, in exhibitions, advertising our programs in various fora. And also, sometime in the past, we even went around our churches telling everybody about our program. And probably that is something we should resume in the future. Otherwise, we are quite accessible. And also physically, we do a direction map to our institution. And we make it quite clear that it is not a difficult place to either access either physically or even access in terms of learning about the program. And thirdly, we produce brochures and the material that we circulate around, even in billboards, advertising ourselves. Yes.
And I think someone might be forgiven for thinking that PUEA University admits students only from the Presbyterian, cradle, but who can become your student?
Everybody,
including any other religion.
All denominations have been there, Muslims, Hindus, whatever faith you follow. But also, when you come and you find there are values there, these values are not inhibitive in any way in terms of blocking you from your faith, but they are also the values of the institution, which everybody is required to follow, because they are for the good of all of us as an institution.
And now we have to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow is a big day for you, and I'm really excited. 13th graduation for the Presbyterian University of East Africa. How is tomorrow likely to look like if a person was, asked you to give them a picture, paint it for them?
We are prepared. We prepared our campus physically, and we have sent out invitations to all who should come. We prepared our students. Between yesterday and today, we've been preparing them for tomorrow in terms of guiding them on the program, and also in terms of gowning them and all that. So tomorrow we plan to graduate 683 degrees, diplomas, and certificates. And that is a good number for us, and we are very happy about that.
It is,
And our moderator and chancellor would be there to grace the occasion, and we have a guest of honor.
Who is he?
Who is Dr. Zik Mutua. And he has graciously agreed to come and talk to the graduates about our theme, which is really finding new ways in education in the future, and also in commerce. That is our theme. And we look forward to receiving all the guests on the campus, starting from 9 o'clock. Yes.
You said the theme is, I need to get that right. The theme,
sorry.
The theme is? The theme for the graduation tomorrow.
The theme is finding new ways in education.
New ways
and
in education,
commerce.
Education and commerce.
Yes.
education and commerce. I think it's good together. So finding new ways for in education and commerce tomorrow. That is, of course, the theme for the 13th graduation of the Presbyterian University of East Africa, and of course that event will be live on Kirk TV as from 9 a.m. So if you are too far and you feel that you cannot attend, which I believe the VC here wants you to attend in person, but if you are too far, you can follow it live on Kirk TV. But if you are a graduate, then you have to attend. You don't have an option. You can't watch it on TV, but attend in person for you to be celebrated. It's good to be celebrated by the people. So people coming from all over the country,
That's right.
where you have students from, including of course their loved ones and parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they are all welcome.
Yeah. We really look forward to following that and covering that here on Kirk TV. And we believe that PUEA is on the right trajectory going forward, especially after the charter. It's on the right trajectory. I'm really happy with the new programs that you said up next, or up and running for that matter. And we really want to wish you the best for tomorrow. Maybe your word to the graduates, to your staff, and your partners. Even as we close.
Thank you to our graduates. I congratulate you, and I wish you well as you move into the world. I think we've made the best effort we can to sensitize you about the world and what you find there. I would urge you to adopt what you find in the world, adapt to it, and apply what you have been trained for. And all the time, of course, put God first. Stick to your values, and always seek for a new way that can work for you and others. Thank you.
I look for a solution, that problem. Don't accept to remain in the problem, but find a solution. Thank you for being with us this morning. This has been a special Kirk in the Morning show. Of course, today looking at and building up towards the 13th graduation of the Presbyterian University of East Africa, acronymically known as PUEA, that is taking place tomorrow. And the good news is that the event will be live on Kirk TV from 9 a.m. tomorrow, and you can follow that on our social media, Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook, and of course Kirk TV Kenya on YouTube, and of course on Telly. We'll be live there from 9 a.m. I want to take this opportunity to thank you, especially Buena VC, for gracing this show this morning. I know you are a busy person today especially, but thank you for giving us an hour or so of your time today to help us understand what is all about, not just the Presbyterian University of East Africa, but on higher learning. I believe that we've shared enough, and we'll be able to even invite you to share even more. You told me you are an author. You authored a couple of
I've ordered 3 books. One is statistics, and the other one research methodology, which you used for university level. But perhaps the most critical one that sold out was the poverty of mind. And I hope we shall be able to talk about it at one point to explain to people what it is all about.
Wow. Is it sold out?
It's sold out, but the author has copies here and there that can autograph.
I don't have a copy.
To individuals like yourself, yes.
Yeah, good. That'd be great. So we'll invite you some other time to talk about that particular bit of your life.
Yes.
People to understand that you're also an author and what you author, and how effective that is in the world. Thank you also, viewer, for watching this show from 10 a.m. We gladly ask you to continue watching us the remainder of the programming of the day. But as we build up for tomorrow, we want to remind you that the graduation for the Presbyterian University of East Africa, that's the 13th graduation, will be here on Kirk TV from as 9 a.m. tomorrow. And of course, the theme is finding new ways in education and commerce. That's the theme for the 13th graduation ceremony of the Presbyterian University of East Africa. For me, I want to say thank you, and I wish you a good day, and of course an end to the week tomorrow. My name is Vincent Kerosi. Kwaheri.